Yo, what up YouTube, it's Bryce, aka Shooting Quasar Swaggin, aka Vayu Enthusiast's Fiance, aka General Grievous's Human Half, aka the homie holding it down for places I've never even been. And also the homie holding it down for Piper Chaos right now. It's going to be my Piper Chaos deck profile. I took this to my locals and I was like, oh my god, I won all my games, and I literally mean every game. I didn't lose a single game, I 2-0'd everyone. And I felt kind of good and stuff, so here's the deck profile. Just, you know, I played like some random like trap monster deck. I don't mean trap tricks, although he did run trap tricks for Melio. I meant like those continuous trap monsters. I played that round one, but then I played Yugioh and then Dragon Rulers. So yeah, I'll show the deck, I guess. First off, Glare's kind of bad, I guess. 3 Mystic Piper. There, that's a lot better. 3 Mystic Piper, obviously how the deck gets the name. Tribute it, draw a card, reveal it. If it's a level 1 monster, you draw another card. And then the reason the deck functions is 3 Kenkabayo. This card lets you bring back a level 1 monster from your graveyard. And it's a spirit, so it returns to your hand every end phase. So you summon this, get back Piper, tribute Piper, draw. So it essentially gives you 2.5 draw phases a turn. 2 draw phases a turn plus an extra 1 if the Piper effect works and it's a level 1. And then 3 Effect Veiler, pretty much a staple in Piper Chaos because it's a light monster, it's really good, and it's level 1. Running 3 of this not only allows you to draw it off Piper and stuff, but it lets you open it in your opening hand a lot, and that's really good. Against the Dragon Ruler player, I was able to have this both of my turn 1s, or both of his turn 1s actually, to Veiler his the Earth one, Mythic Earth Dragon, Mythic Tree Dragon, whatever, swag. Yeah, so that's good. And then something I think is a staple in like any sort of Piper deck, I guess. 3 Battle Fader, stops a battle phase, sets up tribute plays. It's a level 1 monster that sits on board, just really good. A lot better than Swift Scarecrow. And then the tech level 1s. 2 Ghost Trick Lantern. This is kind of like a worse version of Battle Fader. It allows you to stop 1 attack, so it serves the same purpose, though, essentially in the deck, other than stopping large boards. This just stops 1 monster's attack, and then it sets itself, and you can then flip it over and use it as a level 1 or whatever next turn if you need to. It's also level 1 to draw off Piper, obviously. It's a dark that actually goes to the graveyard, so that's good. It's a fiend, so it's the same type as Caius, so if they side in rivalry on you, it doesn't stop you. And then, yeah, it's basically there to tribute for Caius, or whatever, you know. And then another tech, 1 Magician of Faith. Figured 2 OP not to run. Like, it lets you get a spell card back from your graveyard. This card was banned for how many years? It's a light. What more can you want? I did resolve it once today and take back Dark Hole. So, yeah. Dimensional Alchemist. I love this card so much. This is when we get into the non-level 1 tech monsters, basically. This card's effect, if you don't know, lets you mill a card to your banished zone, gains 500 attack, and then when this card is destroyed, you get to add one of your banished monsters from your banished area to your hand. So it lets you add back Battle Faders, it lets you add random stuff that you mill, it lets you add anything that you remove for a Chaos monster. So it's really good. I would run 2 if I had to, I guess, but instead I chose to run this Magician of Faith as a 2nd Dimensional Alchemist, and I was not disappointed. There were times that I drew this off Piper and got extra draws, and there was also the time I resolved it and got a Dark Hole back, so they're both very good cards. Thunder King Ryo, in testing, it's just like you put this on the board and you win, basically. Plus it's a light monster, what more could you really want? Did not summon it at all today, but I did have it in my hand. It's just, it was never needed, basically, today. And then the last, like, tech. Gore's the Emissary of Darkness, everyone's best friend from like 2 years ago, when people used to play him. Too good. He's a dark monster, he's a fiend. Yeah, you just drop him on the board, and it's yet another hand trap the deck has, basically. You just drop it on the board, and then you have a level 7 monster, level 7 token. You can synchro with Veilers, you can tribute them for Caius, you can do whatever you want. Yeah, Gore's OP. 2 Chaos Sorcerers, when we get into Chaos monsters, or the boss monsters at all, basically. Chaos Sorcerer is really good. You remove a light and dark, banish whatever you want. It's a level 6, it's the same level as Caius, so that's good. Yeah, Chaos Sorcerer overpowered. BLS, obviously it's BLS, Chaos deck. And then the last 3 monsters are 3 Caius the Shadow Monarch. Everyone's other homie from like 4 years ago. This card used to be ran a lot, but now it's so much less ran, but it's still such a good card. Like, the reason the deck's so good is because you can just banish whatever you want. Ooh, way out of focus. I don't know why it's out of focus suddenly. Anyway, yeah, you just banish whatever you want, and banishing cards is still incredibly, incredibly good, guys. Like, look at Dragon Rulers. They're really good, and they banish whatever they want from their own graveyard, but if you pick the cards that are getting banished, then you tend to win, is what I noticed today, basically. On to the spells. 3 MST, necessary, I guess, I figure, at this point in the metagame or whatever. And then we run 3 creature swap. You have a lot of monsters that just sit on board, basically, that are little, so you just give them to your opponent, take their good monster, then it puts a light or dark in the grave for you half the time, or you just get free damage off like a Battle Fader or something, and you, yeah, it doesn't target, so it's another thing to keep in mind. It doesn't target, so it gets around there like Felgrand or whatever. Like, I activated it today, and he said it was fine and stuff, and then he tried to say he was going to give me Blaster, and he was going to target Blaster with Felgrand, and I'm like, well, can you do that in the middle of the card resolving? Because this card doesn't target, it just chooses at resolution. And we ended up resolving it fine. Like, he was just like, well, I'll activate it in response to the card then. And I'm like, okay, I guess, whatever, we're at locals. Swag. And then, Foolish. This card's very good in the deck, but also not as good as it shines in other decks. Basically, this just puts a light or dark in the graveyard, but it also serves as a bad Rhoda for Piper. If you have Kinkabio and not Piper, you put Piper in grave. So it's a decent card, plus you set it, they think it's something, and then, yeah. 1 for 1, 2 good. This is another Rhoda for Piper, basically, or whatever you need. You can get Veiler if you need to Synchro. It can also just summon anything, and then you contribute it for Chaos, or it can dump stuff to the grave if you need to. Monster Reborn, or not Reborn, I'm sorry, Monster Reincarnation, not Monster Reborn. What this does, if you guys don't happen to know, you discard a card, and then you add a monster from your graveyard to your hand, so it lets you reuse a Chaos like a 4th time, it lets you reuse BLS or Chaos Sorcerer if they end up in the graveyard, stuff like that. Also lets you dump monsters if you need to fuel your Chaos monsters. Then Dark Hole, 2 good. I think, clear boards, basically, and it gives me a legitimate target to grab back with Magician of Faith. 2 duality, some of you guys might be like, well, you special like every turn, ideally, don't you? And it's like, yeah, the answer is yes, and then if you're not doing that, you're losing, so you need to get to those cards. Plus, this is an easy side out. I just chose to run the 2 for consistency purposes, and I was never disappointed. Plus, it's another Magician of Faith target. And then the last 4 cards, the staple, Spells and Traps, Compulse, Warning, Torrential, and Bottomless. These put in a lot of work. Common staples, OP. So that's the main deck. I'll get onto the side and extra since they're both somewhat relevant, I guess, as always. I'll do the extra deck first, for those of you that don't care about the side deck. We run the 1 Formula Synchron. This is what I made the most often. You just Veiler and anything. Any level 1, make this, and you get to draw another card, plus it's a light, it's 2 good for the deck, plus you can synchro up with Chaos Sorcerers and Chiases and whatever you want. Yeah, just lets you get that extra draw if you really need to in your desperate game state, and yeah, it paid off. Cataster, you make this with level 4 and Veiler if you need to, basically it's there. There was one time I could have made it, but it wasn't necessarily the optimal play, and then I won anyway, so whatever. Ancient Fairy Dragon, just because we can make it with a level 6 and Veiler once again, and you can pop field spells, and then we do side deck Zombie World, so you could potentially search out your Zombie World by popping their field spell, and that's a very decent play. Black Rose, if you need to nuke, there was once again a time I almost Black Rose today, but then I just didn't need to, because the deck has so much card advantage. You're just half the time you're just sitting there like, are you going to do anything or not? Meaning your opponent, are they going to do anything? Because they can't really contest you half the time. Stardust. Make this with tokens and Veilers is the main way to do it, or level 6s and Formula. Crimson Blader, same thing. Scrap Dragon, same thing. Colossal Fighter, same thing. Pretty much the staple. Level 8s right there. I did make a Scrap Dragon once today. Put in work, I guess. And then the level 1 Exceeds. Rank 1, I'm sorry. Slacker Magician, what this does is, once per turn, it can't be destroyed by battle. During either player's turn, if a card effect is activated that targets it, you can detach an Exceed material from the card, negate the activation, and destroy the card. So it pretty much can't be destroyed, basically, so it can stall for you. There was one time I almost made this, but then I ended up making a Formula instead, and then sacking into Chaos, whatever, Chaos Sorcerer instead. Utopia Roots, this card, another decent card. What it does is when any player's monster declares an attack, you can detach an Exceed material from this card and negate the attack, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to the monster's rank times 500. So if they... Basically, you put this in defense mode, and if they have nothing to do other than attack it with an Exceed, then you're going to gain a bunch of attack. So they won't attack it, obviously, but it sits there and stalls. So, yeah, I was reading this card today before the tournament, and I put it in, and there was one time I almost made it. Because when I kept Veiling the... What's it called? The Mythic Tree Dragon. I needed to get over it. This thing has 500 attack, and that thing has 100 attack. And a lot of these monsters have literally no attack. So the game 1, I Kinkabio'd over it, but then I needed to get over it game 2, and I almost made this. It was actually an Influence Dragon that I was going to attack over at this. But yeah, a lot of those little monsters, they have any attack, and our monsters don't, so we have to exceed half the time to get over it. And Slacker Magician has 200, but this thing has 500, so it gets over Influence Dragon. And yeah, it's got a decent other effect as well. Number 101, Honor Arc. In testing, my first game of testing with this deck, I immediately, like turn 3, found myself in a situation where I had creature swap for a monster, and I had 2 level 4s and nothing to really do with them. So then I put in this monster because I feel like this is the best rank 4. So that's why we run that, in case you end up with 2 level 4s and you want to make an Exceed. Gauntlet Launcher. You can make this with Chaos Sorcerers and Caiuses in desperate situations. Never had to, but it's there if you need it. And then Photon Strike Bouncer. You can make this in the same situation. This one negates effects, that one pops cards. And the last extra deck monster is Chimeratech Fortress Dragon. I did not make this today, but I could have because I played a Yugioh player, so I was glad I put it in. Extra deck space is not very tight at all in this deck, but I just wanted to explain why I run all these cards, basically. So yeah, I hope you guys get a better understanding. And then the side deck, somewhat relevant because you side based on both the meta and the deck that I'm playing in this deck. 1 Max C, because it's not a level 1, basically, is why I only run the 1 Max C. And yeah, it's a good card against the meta or whatever, but I only side the 1, basically. And 1 Cyber Dragon, this was just because I figured it's somewhat ignorant to run just Chimeratech in the extra deck, as if they're going to actually leave a Cyber Dragon and stuff face up on the board, which does happen. It's happened like 2 or 3 times throughout my career, or whatever you call it in this game. But it's better to have the actual Cyber Dragon yourself, and then you're in control, and then you scoop up their Gigants and stuff, and it's pretty good, because it does not destroy. Maybe Gigant says Scent, I don't know, maybe I'm putting my foot in my mouth. But yeah, 3DD Crow. Maybe I said in videos before that I don't even really like this card, but it's too good in this deck. It's a dark, it's a level 1, and it's amazing against certain cards, basically, removing them. I did draw into the DD Crow today, game 2 against Dragon Rulers, and it helped solidify my win, so I love this card now in this deck. 2 Zombie World. I'm pretty on the bandwagon for Zombie World right now. This card's like really, really good against a lot of the best decks. And it doesn't really hurt us, but it actually kind of does hurt us, because the secondary effect of Zombie World is neither player contribute summon any monsters except zombie monsters. So we can't tribute for Caius. So when I did side this in, I sided out one of my Caiuses, but it's better. It hurts our opponent a lot more than us, basically. Soul Drain doesn't hurt us at all. Love that card. It basically wins games. If you draw this, it's actually kind of unfair. If you draw this against a deck it hurts and they don't have MST, you kind of win. Ceasefire. This is my answer to Soul Drain, really, guys. They Soul Charge, not Soul Drain. Soul Charge. They Soul Charge for 5, and then you have any monsters. GG, basically. So yeah, side that for that. And then the deck is somewhat stally, I guess. Like, it's not necessarily stally, you just keep drawing until you eventually overpower your opponent. So if you know you're going to be going to time, Ceasefire, good card. 2 Dust Tornado, I was just scared of the Rivalry and Gozens and whatever other back row, so those are good. I did side that in at least once today. 2 Mirror Force, because if they see me game 1 and they realize that I'm not running any traps, then this I figured could be a good side in. Extra protection, and against decks that I would want it against, it's good. Yeah. And 2 Breakthrough Skill, further effect negation, and I do run Gores, and I'm trying to stick pretty true to running Gores and not run Fiendish Chain or anything. So Breakthrough Skill, I did side this in once as well. Really good card. I already run 3 Veiler, so I can't side anymore or anything, but I thought the only thing that's really going to stop me is monster effects. So yeah, that's the deck profile, guys. Once again, I got first place at my locals, therefore I'm the best Yu-Gi-Oh player ever, and this is obviously the best deck of the format, because if you top your locals, that's what it means. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like the deck profile or whatever, you can go ahead and thumbs up, maybe subscribe, whatever. Thanks for watching, and peace.